Good afternoon. This is Wally with Darkroom Software, and we've got a special thing for you this afternoon. We're going to do a little bit of a roundtable discussion between Bill and I with all of our social distancing. We originally conceived this thing to be live with us sitting at a table all together, but with all the social distancing, we are in multiple locations scattered all over. So I'm in my office down the hall. Steve is in his office, and Bill is at his home office. So we're taking advantage of some technology here to have a little discussion. So we're going to talk about printers and how they relate to photo booth world and everything. And we've got Bill and we got Steve. Hi guys. Bill, you there? Okay. So where do y'all want to start?
Well, what is unique about that printer, and why would I want to use the Symphony S3? And there's one reason: it's a
Hey,
high capacity unit.
Steve,
Yeah.
hang on just a second. We're having some trouble with audio. Hang on just a minute.
Oh Lord.
Oh,
They can't hear us, Steve.
they can hear me, but they can't hear you.
What is unique about that printer, and
Okay.
why would I want to use the Symphony S3?
Okay. I think we got Steve and Bill back now with audio. So go ahead, guys.
All right.
Can you
So
hear me
why
now?
would it? All right.
Go ahead, Steve.
Everything good? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. So the Symphony S3, the big difference here is it's a very high capacity printer, bigger than what I think most photo booth companies would be used to. So it's got 900 prints on a 4x6 roll. I think if you're comparing and contrasting with the DNP RX1, you would know that that's a 700 print capacity. People who like that printer like that it's 30 pounds, they're comfortable with the shape, and they like that it's high capacity. So what Sinfonia did is bring something a little extra to the market, so to speak. The great thing about this is you're getting that extra capacity without a lot of extra weight. Back in the day, a printer like this would have weighed, 60 pounds. They've managed to keep it in that 30, 32-pound range, which is right there with RX1, but you get a little extra capacity. But that's the key value driver with that one. And one of the things I want to say with all the printers that we're talking about today is if you do want sample prints, we can provide those to you. So you can either email Bill at Imaging Spectrum or Steve at Imaging Spectrum. Some of you know Laura. She's awesome and also on the team, and she helps with printer questions and sample prints. You can also email her if you normally deal with her. But that's open for you on all these units. Bill, did you have anything you wanted to say about the Symphony S3?
No, it's you'd mentioned the RX1, and it's about the same size, a little bit bigger. Really nice prints. It's a nice printer. And when you load it, it does snap in. The ribbon snaps in the same way as the RX1, so there's no carriage or anything for that. It's a very nice printer.
And it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more than the RX1. You're still under $500, but you're in that 485, 495 price range. I don't want to spend a lot of time on price here because we don't want to make the assumption that everyone that uses Darkroom buys from Imaging Spectrum. And I would just say contact your local supplier, whoever you normally buy from, to get pricing on the unit. Obviously, you can call us, but we want to be fair in this broadcast and make it as neutral and agnostic as possible, not make it a big imaging spectrum promotion. So we're very conscious of that and respectful that some of you have other places you buy, but we do offer sample prints if you want to take advantage of that. You want to move into the Mitsubishi, Bill?
Sure,
Ready?
absolutely.
Okay. Yep. And we'll jump into that. So Mitsubishi has a new one. We had it at PBX. It's called the M1. Interesting printer. This is a little bit different. Some of you who will remember the High-Tide days, the Sony days of the Snap Labs, the UPCX ones, if you were really fond of having a ribbon and a cartridge load, Mitsubishi has brought that back to life, and I did print a visual for you. So this is what you get coming out of the box. And the ribbon is actually in a tray, and it's all ready to go. And to give you an idea what it looks like on the front, if you open the front of the printer, you can see where the ribbon is just going to slide right in the cartridge already. And that's awesome. I know some people are really fond of that with their assistants. They like to make things as easy as they can be. Or, I hate to say the word dummy proof, but that's really what we're talking about. And the Mitsubishi M1 brings that back to life. It's got a little bigger capacity. You're going to be right at about 750 prints on a roll, which is a little bigger than the RX1. And Bill, I'm kind of cheating here a little bit. What is it? It's also right at about 30 pounds. So again, RX1, S3, the M1, they're all going to be right in that same weight range. Bill, did you want to jump in about the M1, give some details?
I mean, for those that are accustomed to the Mitsubishis that have been out for a while, the K60, the 70, the 80, and to some extent the 90, this one's bigger. Again, this one's about the size of the S3 and the RX1, so it's a bigger printer, but it holds more media. And I don't know if you mentioned this or not, the paper's also loaded onto a spool, so you just put the paper in, you put the ribbon in, boom, it's got one of the fastest load times I've ever seen on a Dye-Sub printer. So definitely worth looking at.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I was impressed when Mitsubishi brought it in when it was coming to market, and they actually set a timer. And we are very, very impressed at the speed of the load, because that ribbon's already in the cartridge and the paper is ready to go, and you literally throw it in. And Bill, did we ever do our own video of that yet?
We have not, but there's
not. So that'll be coming. We'll do one. And if you go to our website, you'll see you'll be able to take a look at the printer there as well. And again, we can send sample prints if you want sample prints. And right, I think that's coming in at, where is it right now, Bill? It's right, $469. So yep. Again, we're going to say RX1, S3, M1. They're all in that price point. They're all bigger capacity printers. Again, with the M1, you have a speed loading and ease of load type format that's pretty darn cool. We're very impressed with it. And you know what? Is it time for a raffle?
A raffle, yeah. Steve wants to do a raffle. You see the hat he's wearing there, folks? That's a Imaging Spectrum camo hat. It's a limited edition Steve special. So here's the raffle question. And those of you who are watching on Facebook, you can see where you can make a comment. So the first person to make a comment there and get this correctly, we'll send them a hat, and we'll even include a bonus pin with Darkroom's logo on it. So here's the question.
And it'll be a new hat, by the way.
Yeah,
not one off Steve's head. It'll be a fresh new
clean
hat.
New one, untouched by human hands. Here's the question. What was the original name of Darkroom Software?
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay.
All right.
Y'all can keep talking. I'll let you know who chimes in and wins. But what's the original name of Darkroom Software? Okay, go ahead.
All right. Someone will get it eventually. So guess what? One of the hottest things that was at the show outside of the DNP 620, and I'm talking about PBX, by the way, was the DNP 410. And a lot of talk about why is this kind of unique? Why would I want to buy one? There's a lot of debate about the print speed and is it fast enough? What does the wireless connectivity look like? I love it. It's a very, very, very small printer. Limited formats in terms of size, but let's face it, for a lot of applications, it's the perfect fit, form, shape, everything, quality. The one thing I do want to add is there's some concern about importing goods and things getting held up coming to the States and all that. I've been assured by DNP that the wireless module that you can get with the printer, and it's going to be, Bill, am I right? It's around $100. Is that correct?
It's going to be under $100, actually.
Under $100. But there is a holdup. You know, this thing really, it was announced at Imaging USA in January. And by the time we got to PBX, there were a lot of booth builders that they had given the printer to test, and they were showing them on the show floor. But the wireless module has not made it yet. And it's not because things are being held up with shipments or whatever. They're actually waiting for the FCC approval, which is a rating they have to have on it before it can be sold as an electronic device in the United States. From what I understand, that approval should be coming in the next few weeks is what they're hoping for. So mid-April, we should be good to go. And I want to just kind of throw that out there as an update. I've got a few calls because some people did buy the printers at PBX and they're waiting on that wireless module. So hang in there. We're getting close, but it's not held up because of the virus or anything. It has to do with FCC approval, which they are sure is going to come clear here pretty soon. Bill, I'm going to let you and Wally get into the wireless connectivity. How does that work? And we're going to relate this back to Darkroom. Okay. What would be the best practice in terms of getting everything to communicate? So I'll let you guys go with that one.
What this device does, it's an AirPrint module. It's really tiny. It's not much bigger than a deck of cards. I have a pre-production unit that was given to me just before PBX, and it works great. It works really well, but it does provide AirPrint compatibility so that you can print from iOS devices. So for instance, Darkroom's iPad application supports AirPrint. So you just make sure they're on the same Wi-Fi, enable AirPrint on the iPad, and then it shows up and you can print directly to it. It just picks up the printer. It's pretty simple to set up. You can just join the Wi-Fi hotspot that the AirPrint module creates, and then you can print right to it using any sort of AirPrint module or AirPrint feature that's built into the iOS application.
Yeah, like Wally said, it's small. It's about, it's only about this big. It's like, it's about the size of a deck of cards. It does have an AC power supply, does have USB, and it will work with any of the current roll printers from DNP. So the RX1, the 620, DS40, 410. So it does work with all of them. Yeah. And like Steve was saying, we are waiting for full government approval. But also, I don't know how many are in the States, that are sellable. So I don't know, how many will be available when it does get approved, depending on what other things happen. So.
Now, one other thing on the power supply part of it, if you're using the 410 has a power outlet on the back of it to power it. So then you don't need a power supply at all. You just plug in the USB printer cable and then the little USB port in the back of the printer to power the AirPrint module. So it's really convenient from that standpoint.
Yep.
Okay.
That is true.
And the 410 actually can be powered from a battery. Is that right, Steve? It has a low enough power requirement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the battery's not super cheap. And I think I can't remember if I put that on a Facebook post or a blog or the YouTube video. One of the three things that I did has the battery brands listed.
Yeah,
But
the
yeah,
battery is not a DNP product. It's an
yeah,
aftermarket.
it's a third party, and
Yeah.
it's not a giant battery, but it's fairly good size. It's probably about half the size of your car battery.
So
So
pretty
Hey,
close to the same size as the printer.
about the same size as the printer. That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we did have a
Bill, did
winner.
you?
We did
Oh,
have a
go.
we did have a winner. Cherie Irwin was
Yay!
our winner. I don't know
Hey,
exactly
she's
what Cherie. I don't know how Cherie would look in a camo hat, but
no. Hey, y'all! I'm going to tell you right now. She's a country girl, and she will love this. It's a mossy oak, what they call the bottomland camo, and she's going to love this. Cherie, I'll mail that out to you next week. Thank you so much for chiming in. That's awesome. And she's enjoying the country too. She got out there, always posts pictures of her time out there. It's just beautiful. Hey Bill, um, did you talk about the curl decurl option?
No, the 410 because the paper is a little bit thinner than the usual media from the RX1 or the 40 or the 620. It is a little bit thinner, and it can come out. Now, this photo is not from a from a 410, but it can come out a little bit curly. And what the decurl does, it actually kind of as it comes out, it kind of comes out and rolls it this way just a little bit. So it takes the curl out, but it doesn't increase the speed or how long it increases how long it takes to print. So and it only shows more at the end of the roll, not at the beginning of the roll. I did use it as at an event during Christmas time, and I did finish a roll of media. And I will tell you, even at the end, I did not find the prints to be so curly that they looked bad or looked off or anything like that. They're just a little more curly. And for any of you that have the Mitsubishi K60, it also has a thinner media, and it also has a little bit of a curl when it comes out. And again, you know, for the extra time, it's probably not worth it, but they did add that in there for people that were concerned about it.
I want to apologize to everybody. I'm while they're talking and everything, I'm not necessarily looking right at the camera, and I keep tilting my head down to see my keyboard and type and answer questions, and I'm probably blinding everybody with the glare right there. So I apologize in advance for that. Okay, y'all go ahead.
All right. So one of the things I really like about the printer is the 4x4 native cut. And I have to say, if you were to say what's one of the cooler things, to get that in another printer, you would have had to have gotten, you own like a 620, for example, and have the 2x4, 4x4 perforated paper. And this can give you a 4x4, what they call the Polaroid or Instagram format natively, right out of the printer without needing a perforation, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
And there's been some debate, on the internet. Bill, you and I have both seen this and been a part of it. We certainly field a lot of these questions at the show, but when you talk about print speeds, I think if you have the kind of environment where you're doing unlimited prints and things like that, where let's say you've got 5 people in the picture and you're going to go, okay, so we're going to make 5 prints. On slower printers, that could take some time. So I can understand the pushback on that. If you're doing a single 4x4, for example, and it's one shot per session, the printer's plenty fast. I think for simple workflows, the printer's going to do just fine. But again, I understand when you get into those longer times and you have groups, it's going to take a while. You don't want people standing there for 2 minutes waiting for the next session, to get printed. So, Bill, did you have anything you wanted to lend to that, or?
Yeah, just a couple of things. First of all, when I did do my event at Christmas time with the 410, I did have groups of. I'm running out of time.
No, y'all go
Oh,
ahead.
yay! Sorry, I just got a message because I'm this is my Zoom that I'm using. It says that it has eliminated the 40-minute window, so I hope we can keep going here. So anyway, to when I used it during Christmas time, I did have groups of 4 and 5, and everyone got a copy of the photo. And I will tell you, not a single time did the group that was waiting for their photo ever impede the next group. It never fell that far behind, and I was very impressed with that because it was a little bit of a concern. I've used every single DISUB printer that Imaging Spectrum sells at one time or another in my photo booth, and I like doing it so I can give true experiences with it. And again, that impressed me that I did not fall behind even at 19 seconds per 4x6. And just to add on something that Steve was talking about the 4x4s, the reason it does that is most DISUB printers come out this way, 6 inches wide. However, the 410 comes out vertically like this and the paper's 4 inches wide. That's why it can cut it at 4 inches, because it's coming out that way. Just to let you know that they also have a 4.5x8 media for the 410 printer. That one can also cut a square, so you can do a 4.5x4.5, which is a little bit bigger, or you can do a 4.5x8. And for any of you that used to do the CX1, it had a 4x8 media. And just to let you know how to perspective 4x8, that's 4x8, that's 4x6. So you can see the perspective of the difference between a 4x6 and a 4x8, but the 4.5x8 is even bigger. So again, if you're wanting to add some oomph and some wow, that does bring an option into the table. So.
Well, while we're on the subject of print speeds, I know we're talking about the 410 specifically there, but if you're in an event and you just need a lot more print speed and you have multiple printers, you can put those printers together in Darkroom, and Darkroom supports built-in printer pooling. If it's a printer that we have a built-in driver for, you just plug it in and that's all. You don't have to do anything else. So like a 620, a 410, well, 410 driver's not out yet, but
not yet.
It will be soon, but hopefully soon. The DS40, the 620, those printers that have built-in drivers, you just plug it in and Darkroom detects it and starts round-robin printing to it every other session. If it's a Windows printer like a Shinko or something like that, then you install the Windows driver, both printers installed, and then you add both Windows drivers in Darkroom, and again, it just starts round-robining between the two. And so you just have built-in printer pooling there. Works really well. Go.
Yep. Oh, what are the plans? I know the 410's coming as soon as the SDK and everything is out. What are any plans on the M1A yet, or is that
haven't discussed that yet? But that's a little further down the road.
Yeah. For those of you that do know, that Darkroom did now has the earlier Mitsubishi printer drivers built in. So the 60, 70, 80, 90, those are all built in. M1A's coming down the road. So just to let you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So Wally, just this is a perfect place to mention this. So for people who maybe have been working with printers that don't have built-in drivers, and we have a lot of people who use Darkroom that don't necessarily have the Mitsubishi or DNP printers. If you were to just say there were two things that are really cool or a major benefit with a built-in driver, what would you say would be the two biggest value drivers of the built-in driver?
The built-in drivers offer a number of opportunities for improved performance. We bypass the Windows printer queue that normally Windows printers go through, and so that is a performance boost in part. The second thing is it allows us to control the printer directly. So for instance, with the 620, we can turn on or off the cut as needed. So if you're doing a 4x6 or a 2x6, you don't have to worry about setting an additional setting to switch that cut. Darkroom just does it for you. So that built-in driver is a big advantage in that area alone. It saves a lot of people. Probably we get a lot of support calls from people that are using Windows drivers at events where they're in a panic. They don't understand why it's cutting a 4x6 in half, or it's not cutting a 2x6 where it's supposed to, and it's because they're using a Windows printer and they forgot to set that extra setting. With Darkroom's built-in drivers, you don't have to worry about that. It just does it for you. The other thing that it offers is using our booth stats feature. You can get an email or a text message periodically that tells you how much media remains in the printer. Normally, that would be information you'd have to go to the Windows driver to find out physically. We can't get that information from the printer because it's talking to Windows and not us directly. But if you have a built-in driver, we're talking to the printer directly, and so we have the opportunity to get that information right from the printer and let you know what media is in the printer, first of all, 4x6 versus 6x8 or whatever, and also how much remains, so you know how many prints you can go, and you can check that on your cell phone using the booth control booth stats feature.
Yeah, and just to echo what Wally was saying, probably one of the most common tech questions and questions on Photo Booth Network and community and things like that are, my printer's not working, and of course what they've done is they've plugged the printer into a different port and or plugged the hub into a different port, so they have issues with it not seeing the printer because any software is looking for the original whatever it's set for, not what the new driver is set up. So when you're using the built-in drivers in Darkroom, it really doesn't matter where you plug it in. I still recommend always plugging it into the same port, but it does not matter when you're using a built-in driver.
Well, yeah, that's a fourth thing. I just named three, but yeah,
okay.
That's probably another biggest reason we get a lot of support calls is people will plug it into a different port, and then Windows makes a duplicate Windows driver, and Darkroom is using the wrong one, and they didn't change that. And so to avoid that, the best thing to do is mark your port, always plug it in the same place every time, but with the built-in drivers it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and just to let you know, even though I know how to fix it and I use the built-in drivers in both Darkroom Core and Darkroom Booth, on my computer that has 2 ports and 2 ports, I still always use the top left port. On any of the laptops that have ports on either side, I still always put it on the left side closest to me. And again, I know how to fix it. It doesn't even really matter, but even I always put it into the same port just to be consistent. So
yeah, it's a good habit to get into.
It's an excellent habit. Yeah. And another thing what Wally was talking about earlier is if for whatever reason your client wants to give their customers, their subjects, whoever, the choice between a 4x6 or 2 2x6s with Darkroom Booth and a built-in driver, it knows to cut or not to cut. And you can obviously have that option, in Darkroom.
Well, yeah, not just if you're doing a 4x6 this week and a 2x6 next week, but if you're doing
on the spot,
if you're doing alternate prints and allowing them to choose which one they want to use, Darkroom can cut it, back and forth and switch back and forth, and not have to worry about that at all.
Hey, look what I found!
Hey,
a Darkroom pen, yeah,
an upside down Darkroom pen.
We actually ordered those for PBX, and they were delayed getting here from China. Guess why? And then we were going to take them to PBNY and didn't get to do that either. So we've got a bunch of those Darkroom pens. So anyway,
all right.
For now.
Before we start talking about Bill's mustache, I really want to talk about how we have a 4x6 metallic now. It's so badass. Like, I'm so happy that they brought that to market. And Bill, what's some of the things you've heard about the 4x6 metallic? Kind of breathing life into it. It cost a little bit less, obviously.
Yeah, just to let you know, they came out with the 6x8 and 5x7 last year. And of course, the first thing we said to them was, well, if you're doing 6-inch media, 6-inch paper, it's the same whether or not it's a 6x8 ribbon or a 4x6 ribbon. Let's have 4x6 metallic. So they did listen to us, and they did come out with the 4x6. We showed it at we had it at PBX, and we've actually used it in-house at a Imaging Spectrum Darkroom party, at the office. So we've done it a couple of times. Again, just as a stunning, photo, that metallic silver, and of course they have pearl also. I think pearl's great for people, really make people pop. The metallic's great to make the photo pop. I don't have a metallic on my desk, but I will show you that you know, if you have a lot of white spaces, one that was done here on my desk months ago. But anyway, if you have a lot of white space on a metallic photo, that shows up as that metallic, that silver look, and it really pops and it really looks amazing. So again, anytime you can have a lot of white space on there, that's where that metallic really shows. And it looks like you've done something fancy, because it is.
And I'll also add, although they look great with just the standard ICC profile, DNP came out with a special profile that you can add both into the darkroom built-in driver or using the Windows driver, either one, that bumps the saturation and contrast up to really make that metallic paper look great. And
Yeah, and I have a blog post on that also, and links. And there is one for Pearl, and there is one for metallic. So be sure you use the correct one for whichever media you're using.
And in darkroom, you just click on the double click on the direct driver, choose color, and point it to the profile. It's real simple.
You know who gave me a compliment on that profile the other day is Jeff Libby in Colorado. He was playing with that profile. He loved it.
Oh yeah,
good.
So yeah, he was crazy about it. All right, what else are we going to talk about, guys? We got perforated paper. So I always like to throw this out there and keep it out front, because I'm always surprised at how many people I talk to on a daily basis or whatever in my communications that still have not done a lot with the perforated paper. And yet you talk to another person who's found a way to work it in their business as an upsell. And you know, if it's the 4x4, 2x4, and whether you're using a 2x4 piece as a coupon, raffle ticket, drink ticket, there's so many creative things you can do with it. And I'm always surprised at how many people just don't think creatively about what's possible with all these choices, formats, sizes that are available in their toolbox. And I would just encourage people, especially in these times, there's a lot of people doing the same thing you're doing, and we're all kind of pushed to try to do things a little bit differently. And I think if you hadn't tried, it's worth trying. Again, if you want some samples, give us a call. It doesn't cost you anything, or send us an email, and we'd be glad to send you some samples so you in turn can show your customers an experience what those perforations are like. You know, they're very, very cool.
Well, when you talk about the premium medias, you know, like the metallic, the pearl, the perforated things, one of the big objections I hear from a lot of people is they cost a little more.
Yeah.
And that's true. But you also have to realize the value added in there so that you can market that to your customer and offer a premium product at a higher cost, which of course is a higher profit margin. And, you know, that covers the cost of that added expense right there. So, you know, don't think that you should offer those things at the same price that you might offer a basic 2x6. You may want to, you know, offer that at a little bit higher cost so that it's a premium offering to your customer.
Yeah, it is. It does become an upgrade. And just to let you know, this is what metallic media looks like. So if you can kind of see that, that silver,
the webcam doesn't do it justice.
It doesn't do it justice, but just
really
to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like. So, and just to let you know, that's Michelle. So if you ever see the sample photos in darkroom of me and my cousin, yeah, that's her. That's Michelle.
Yeah,
so
we made her famous in darkroom.
yes. So.
Well, I have to say the double-sided tape that's holding my cell phone to my computer screen is starting to slip. And I'm like, oh my Lord, these technical problems are just mind-blowing. Yeah, so I'm sitting here, I'm in crisis mode. I don't know if you can see it on my face, but like, holy cow.
So
all right,
so if Steve disappears all of a sudden and you see the ceiling, you'll know why.
Anyway, it goes like that. Okay, so to make use of people's time, I think really we covered everything. You know, we are here for you. We're under government contract to stay open. So don't think we're being careless and reckless. But as a part of that, we're here trying to fill our days. We are like you. It is very slow. Everyone is going through this, the horrible thing we're dealing with. if you want to help us fill our days, please call us. I mean, I certainly don't claim to know everything. We're all one big brain with different parts. I have access to our whole team, as Bill does and Wally does, and if maybe it's a good time. There's a new feature in the program you haven't played with. You've got the time to do that. You have a printer. Maybe you haven't had the best experiences with it. And this may not be a good time to buy. It probably isn't. We know that, but it's a good time to educate yourself and look at where you're going to go next. And maybe it's a move up, maybe it's sideways to a different model, whatever. But I'm certainly here to do the printer talk all day long. Happy to do that. I know Bill is too. And Laura, she's not on here, but she's available. And other people on our team, some of you, there's so many of us, there's a bunch of us, but, feel free to give us a holler. We're here for you. Bill, did you have anything else you wanted to wrap up with?
Well, no, but Eric just wrote that we should not forget about Bill's mustache. So,
oh crap. Okay, so here's the thing. When I go out with Bill somewhere, trade shows or whatever, the first thing that people talk about it is mustache. Honestly, it gets kind of old for me. I thought about doing it a couple of times. I think trying to be the Glimmer Twins with the mustache thing would probably be a little corny, but it is a trademark, and I'm kind of jealous. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Well, the good news is if Steve took off his hat, you would notice a lot of chrome dome between the three of us. So at least we all have that in common. So
yeah, little known fact, we all have the same follically challenged situation, and that's pretty obvious. But we also were all born within just a short time. Well, Bill's several years younger, but we're all born in November. All of our birthdays are in November, so it's almost like the three amigos here.
Yeah, from the 11th to the 24th. So,
and Steve, you and I were born the same year, right?
I think so. Yeah, same age.
Yeah,
but you act a lot more mature than I do.
Wait, does that make y'all 60 this year?
Yeah, it does.
Getting close. But yeah, Wally's the mature one. I'm still 12. So, that sometimes becomes an issue at work.
Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment. Well, folks, to reiterate what Steve said, we're here. Our support staff are all available to take calls. If you have questions, you just want to learn how to do something new, give us a call. We're happy to, Steve, we're happy to help. If you just want to call and talk, sometimes, I'm too busy many times to just kind of shoot the breeze with folks, but right now we've got time. So if you just want to call and talk about some new idea you had, or how Darkroom might benefit you in some way like that, next week we're going to try to do a few of these sorts of things about Darkroom Core. Darkroom Core brings a whole lot of other possibilities to the table when you're talking about feature sets and things that are radically different than the feature set of Darkroom Booth. So some of you may have been trying to do things with Darkroom Booth that might really benefit better from Darkroom Core. So if you just want to call and brainstorm with us about some new idea you have and how Darkroom might benefit, sure, give me a call. Otherwise, we'll be back next week with a few more of these Facebook Live videos.
Stay healthy and safe, everybody.
Stay safe, folks.
Thanks, everyone. And remember, if you have questions, steve@imagingspectrum.com, bill@imagingspectrum.com. I also get tech support at imagingspectrum.com. So if you do have questions, you can email us. You can also call us. Even though I'm working from home, my cell phone rings as if I'm at the office. So, and if I call out, it comes up as Imaging Spectrum. So it's pretty cool. So anyway, Thanks everyone for coming.
All right. Y'all have a great day and stay safe, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.